Hey everybody, welcome back to Winnemac Attack Hockey for this week's NHL update. I am Dom the Bomb, joined with Jake the Snake Armstrong. Buddy, how you doing?
I'm doing great. As always, it's been an exciting week of hockey. I'm excited to talk about it.
Alright, well, let's jump right in here. We've got a couple of really interesting things and some big news to talk about regarding the NHL this week. First, we have the St. Louis Blues re-signing Jordan Binnington to a 6-year deal, and he'll be making $6 million each year. Jake, how do you think that is going to play out for the team? Good signing?
Well, it's complicated. I personally think it's a good contract. It's the same contract that Jacob Markstrom signed. So whether you consider Binnington a Markstrom level talent or not, the team doesn't have a lot of other options. Ville Husso was supposed to be that guy even before Binnington emerged. And so far this season, Husso is just not playing well. He just hasn't been able to be that guy. He gives up soft goals, and the Blues don't have any other options. They gave away Jake Allen already. So this signing was inevitable. So Jordan Binnington had the option to ask for what he wanted, and I think he got it here.
Yep. All right. So here's the big news that we got in the NHL. They just signed a deal with ESPN, and so all of the NHL games are now going to stream starting next season on ESPN Plus and Hulu. So for all of you out there who have ESPN Plus and Hulu, finally the NHL games will be streamed, every single one of them, and exclusive highlight videos. Jake, this is big for the league. This is what they've needed, right?
Right, they just need to increase their reach. I think ESPN is going to be a great boost to people learning about the NHL, because once you see it, you fall in love with it. So it's really a good look for the NHL.
It's the moment we've been waiting for as hockey fans. Hockey's been kind of slid underneath the table in regards to other sports here in the States, and I'm excited.
Right, it's going to be a great season next year for hockey in general.
Absolutely, and hopefully COVID will be near its end and we can get back to the normal hockey that we all love.
Right.
All right, so next up we have an injury update with Jack Eichel. He will be out indefinitely. Jake, how do you think this is going to affect Buffalo, who's already been struggling?
So I didn't think that a deep, dark depression was cause to be put on IR, but it seems like that's what we have here. Buffalo's having an awful season, and I honestly wouldn't be surprised if Jack Eichel just wanted out. The team's not looking good. He honestly hasn't added much to the team. He doesn't have a lot of goals this year. He has played more of a defensive game, which helps, but the team can't score goals. They're losing night in and night out, and now that he's injured, they don't have a lot of other people to turn to. So Buffalo's season is not going to get better from here on out.
Yeah, they actually just hit a 10-game losing streak. 10 straight. That's...
And if they miss the playoffs again, I believe they will be setting a record or tying a record for most seasons of a playoff drought.
Wow. That's highly unfortunate if you're a Buffalo fan.
Yeah, sorry, Sabres fans.
All right, so the NHL has announced the dates of the draft for this season. It will be July 23rd and 24th. But along with that, Jake, they've announced that they're going to start talking about the lottery and making some changes. What do you think that they might do? And how do you think that's going to affect some of these teams that could use a number one draft pick?
So what I've heard is they could place a limit on the number of lottery picks you can get in a certain span of time. I believe it's 5 years. In addition to that, you can only move up 10 spots. And also I've heard that they're going to get rid of that third lottery pick to just make it so you can win the first pick and the second pick.
So now the team that's third worst in the league will be locked in with the number 3 overall pick?
Right, unless they manage to win the lottery themselves.
I see. Well, those changes don't seem significant, but when you're those teams, the first, second, and third overall picks, I mean, the talent there, you can go from a bust to a gem. That's crucial.
Right, I think in a year like this, it doesn't matter so much, but this year is sort of unprecedented because the scouts haven't been able to go scout players, these young prospects, because of COVID. Some of these players aren't even playing games. So it won't have a huge effect this year. We could see some absolute steals because scouts just haven't been able to really review people. But going forward, I think this could be big changes for teams who are hoping to get a lottery pick they may just miss out.
Yeah. All right, so let's jump into our next injury update. Andreevskiy for the Islanders will be out with a lower body injury for the next who knows amount of time. They said indefinitely. Jake, the Islanders are currently leading their division. Do you think this is going to really hurt them, or do you think they're going to survive?
I definitely think they will survive. They may see a couple more losses than they would with him, but they're a defensive team. The reason they win isn't because they have a bunch of offensive threats, but it's Barry Trotz's defensive scheme, and they play it. They play it that way. They buy into it. Even Matthew Bartzell has seen an offensive slump because he buys into that defensive strategy, and it works for him. So I don't think they'll lose a lot here.
Well, hopefully he gets well soon and can get back to playing some good hockey.
Yeah, we hope the best for all players when it comes to health.
All right, so our next player that has been in the news recently is Patrik Laine for Columbus, who was off to a great start with his new team, but recently, I think it was a 7-game streak where he didn't have a single point, and there were rumors that he was being benched, but Coach came out and said, no, that's not the case. Jake, what do you think of this, and how does it make Columbus look right now as an organization, or at least their head coach?
So amid a losing streak, they asked, and in that slump, they asked Laine how he was feeling about it and if he felt like he had any confidence, and he said in terms of confidence, it's closer to 0. So that was sad to hear from him. And then a little bit later in the week this week, he put up a goal and an assist, had a 2-point game, seemed like things were going okay, and then in the third period, Tortorella decided, you know what, you're not playing well enough for me defensively, so you're going to get some more time on the bench this period, which for a guy who may have just been finding his confidence back, that's going to completely annihilate that.
Yeah, that's so surprising. I mean, he goes out there, he scores that goal. I mean, boom, your confidence is just going to shoot up from there, you would imagine. And confident hockey players are just unreal. Anyone who's playing confidently can put up multiple goals, especially a superstar like Laine.
In defense of Tortorella, though, Laine in that game was a -2, which means that he was on the ice for 4 goals against. So not a good game defensively for him, but maybe just try pairing him with more defensive players. That might help, but they got to figure something out.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously, shootouts are not the way that you want to win games. You got to keep opponents from scoring, so it's important. All right, so let's jump into the standings, as that is pretty much it for the news of the recent week. So, going into the Central, Tampa Bay and the Florida Panthers are tied at 40 points. The Hurricanes are 1 point back. And then in the fourth place spot, Chicago holds on with 33. The rest of the teams there, Columbus would be the closest one in the hunt. They're still 4 points back of a playoff spot. Over in the East, the Islanders still lead it with 40 points as well, but they are followed very closely by the Capitals at 38 and the Penguins at 35. However, Boston is sitting fourth place with 32 points. Jake, is that surprising to you?
Boston has had a wishy-washy year. They have nights where they beat the Capitals 5-0, and then they have nights where they lose to bottom feeder teams. They just can't find a rhythm.
Yeah, that'll be something to watch as we move forward. All right, so over in the West, the Vegas Golden Knights have a 4-point lead with 37 standing in first place. But tied for second, we have the Minnesota Wild, who have caught fire recently, and the St. Louis Blues. The Avies trail with 32. And then finally in the North, the Maple Leafs also lead with 40. 40 seems to be the magic number this week. But following suit are the Jets and the Oilers, tied at 36 apiece, and the Canadiens are at 31. But get this, the Flames are only 2 points back. The Canucks are 3 points back. So these teams that we've been talking about recently that have just not been performing are still very much alive in the playoff hunt. Jake, how does that make any sense?
So Vancouver was, a few weeks ago, it didn't seem like they had any shot. But then this week they had a couple wins against Toronto. I think they beat them back-to-back. So they've got to be putting something together because Toronto's a top team, not just in the division, but in the league. So it seems like they're getting things together, and that's good to see.
Absolutely. They also came out and beat Edmonton the other night, too. So they're beating the top teams in their division. That's a good sign.
Right, and this is the right time to heat up. We're about a little over halfway, so if they can keep this streak going into the playoffs, that's going to be great for them moving forward.
Mm-hmm. All right, so that is the standings as of last night. So let's jump into our players to watch. Jake, let's start with you. Who is your first?
All right, my first player to watch is Matthew Bartzell. I mentioned him earlier with the Islanders losing Andreevskiy, who is a good goal scorer for them, one of Bartzell's wingers. It'll be interesting to see how he performs moving forward. He does play more defensively, but he's got so much skill. The way he can just possess the puck and hold it for what seems like 3 shifts is incredible. This season, he has 24 points in 28 games, and he's a plus 14, which in an 82-game season, he would be on pace for 70 points, which would be a career high for him. It's good, but from a young player who they expect to be the face of the organization, you at least want to see 82 points, get him to be point per game. Hopefully he can just keep growing. Maybe he'll have an even better second half. But it'll be interesting to see how he does without Andreevskiy to score goals for him.
Yeah, it's going to be something to watch. I'm glad you pointed that one out. So, who's your second person to watch?
My second to watch is actually coach of the Columbus Blue Jackets, John Tortorella. And I'm going to be watching him. He should have his eyes on the GM, who's definitely watching him, because he already chased out Pierre-Luc Dubois this year. The GM fixed it. He's like, all right, just put some duct tape on it. We'll get Line A in. It'll be okay. And now he's benching Line A. He's benched him twice now in 19 games. The first time, I understand, he sassed one of the other assistant coaches. So sure, give him some sort of a punishment. But again, now that I mentioned earlier, he was on that good game. He had 2 points, and then you bench him there. Just not a good idea for somebody who's already struggling with confidence. He could be a star player on any team. As far as I'm concerned, if he's not producing the way that the coach wants him to, it's the coach's fault. You have to put somebody with him who is a good blend with his play style.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. You really mixed it up on me there, throwing a coach out there.
Yeah, I mean, just you have to look at Columbus. They're 5th in the Central. They've been a playoff team the last couple of years in the Metro, which is a tough division. They might miss the playoffs in a weak Central division where the 4th place team, that last playoff team, is a -3 in goal differential, which Columbus is a -18, so they're definitely worse. But Tortorella hasn't made it far in the playoffs with Columbus. They went to the second round a few years ago in that sweep over Tampa, which interestingly enough, Tortorella won the Cup in 2004 with Tampa. But 2004 was a long time ago, so he has not earned his spot in the league as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, we'll have to keep an eye on him as the season moves forward, especially with teams knowing that the season's already halfway up, so they got to start pushing for the playoffs. All right, so my first player to watch may not be a surprise. I know that Jake also wanted to highlight this guy. Karri Kaprizov has just been phenomenal. He's making his case for the Calder. He just came off a hat trick. He's helping his team win games. The Wild, as I said earlier, are tied for second in their division right now. And he's just been so impressive. He's been a great overall player. He's got 10 goals and 23 points on the season. And he's just been playing super great as a rookie. I think he's someone that you really need to keep an eye on as this Minnesota Wild team starts making its push for the playoffs.
When Minnesota traded away Devin Dubnyk in the offseason, I was like, what are you doing? That's your goalie. You're going to be useless this year without him. And now Dubnyk is sitting in San Jose just punching the air right now because Minnesota is on fire.
Yes, indeed. All right, well, hey, speaking of goaltenders, my second player to watch is Andreevskiy for Tampa Bay. And the reason I want to point this guy out is not only has he just been playing super well statistically, He's got a 93.4 save percentage on the year so far, and he's played 20 games, so keep that in mind. But, I mean, this guy has been talked about for a while because a lot of people say he's very overrated. And I used to be on that bus. I used to think that the team just made him look great. Now, for granted, he's on Tampa, so his 17-3 record gives some credit to the offense. They're scoring goals for the guy. But he's been playing absolutely incredible until the last 3 games. He's looked human, so it's going to be something to watch, but I think this guy is he's having a remarkable season and helping his team try to go for a back-to-back in the Stanley Cup final.
He may want to go back-to-back more than anybody else on Tampa. I know Kucherov is out, but he has just been incredible all year.
He never ceases to make some of the craziest saves in the highlight reel, and he's definitely somebody that you're going to have to watch. All right, Jake, so that is it for the players to watch. Is there anything that you'd like to add before we wrap up this video?
It's going to be another exciting week of hockey this week, and I can't wait to talk to you again this time next week.
Absolutely, my friend. Well, thank you all for joining us. We will see you next time on Winnemac Attack Hockey.